Welcome back, everyone. Let me introduce our panel today. We have experts in all areas of wildland firefighting around the state of Utah. First of all, we'll start down at the end of the table here to my far right, Sheldon Wimmer. He's the State Fire Management Officer of the BLM. Good morning. Next to him is Sue Stewart. She's with the Forest Service. She's the Director of Fire and Aviation. Tracy Dunford. He is the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands Fire Management Officer in Utah. And next to me here, Chief Michael Jensen of the Unified Fire Authority. That is the fire department in Salt Lake County, what we used to call the County Fire Department. Unified Fire Authority. Thank you very much for joining us all today. Let me start with you, Tracy. How bad is this wildfire season in 2012?
Well, we've been very, very busy, as you've seen on the news and seen the smoke in the air. Our wildland fuels are very, very dry, very, very susceptible to any kind of ignition source, and very difficult to control. So we've been fairly busy statewide.
That seems like the last few days things have calmed a bit, but what's the outlook for the rest of the summer? We're only halfway through the summer.
That's right. We're just getting into this. The little spat of rain we had was very much appreciated, but in the long run, I don't think it's going to make that big a difference. We kind of had a little lull in the action, let people kind of catch their breath, and but actually we're right back at it as we speak.
And now we get to monsoon season, and that brings lightning. As well as rain, a lot of dry lightning. Does that scare you?
It really does scare us, because with that moisture, you get a little bit of moisture and a lot of lightning. Of course, we have lightning detection systems now that help us find out where exactly that lightning hit, but that doesn't make it any easier to fight those fires.
So when you find out where the lightning hits, do you send crews out to see if it sparked a fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have various ways that we detect locations of fires. We do get some help from satellite imagery. We can see an approximate location where those strikes have been. But we'll often send an airplane out to help look for where the fires may have started, or send people out on patrols.
So you can see satellite imagery in real time then, when the lightning's hit. I mean, you've got a picture in just a few minutes.
That's right, and it helps us quite a bit focus our efforts where to go look for those fires.
It's amazing where the technology has gone.
Yes.
Chief Jensen, you are basically an urban structure fire department, yet I understand you're one of the few agencies, structure agencies in the country or the state that actually has a wildland dedicated team.
We do. Primarily our mission would be in the valley just to take care of structure and EMS issues, but because we have so much interface in the Salt Lake Valley, about 2 decades ago, Salt Lake County put together a wildland team, and so we've kept a wildland team with resources dedicated just for the interface and for the wildland, and so we allow them to go out and help wherever they're needed on the board, and it's been a great resource back because we've got a lot of trained personnel in the wildland world that's actually able to come back and run our interface fires for us, and the expertise they bring back is you can't put a dollar value on it.
So your wildland teams aren't being called out on normal structure fires. They're specifically dedicated to wildland fires.
They're specifically for the urban interface and wildland.
And how many personnel are on those teams?
Usually this year we have one team, a 22-member team, and so they'll go out on the board. In previous years we've had more, but due to budget cuts, we've gone to one. Next year, if the fire season continues as it is, we'll probably go back to 2 next year.
You mentioned budget cuts, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes, but also this interface. You know, here we have a county firefighting department, we have state fire officials, Forest Service, and BLM. How do you all interface together? How do you work together on these fires? And I'll just let anyone answer that.
Well, we have to. We have to.
Because they're all in Utah, you mean?
Well, because you very seldom have a wildland fire that stays within one property, one jurisdiction. They almost always, any fire of any size in Utah pretty much runs across one or more jurisdictions. So, you know, we've been doing this for a very long time. We have a network of cooperative agreements that we work under. We work together almost on a daily basis doing this. We have very good cooperative relationships.
One of the things that really help us a lot are the volunteer fire departments. You never know how much they really do until you're there. When you show up, they're already there in a lot of cases. And so it goes from the very bottom department in a small community in rural Utah to the federal agencies and state, all at the same fire, all at the same time. And it's really interesting to see how well they work together, and a unified command is usually developed, and everyone has a say around the table, and a cost share agreement's made up, and everybody pays their fair share, and it works extremely well for us.
Now, I've met some of those volunteer firefighters down in Canaryville, and recently you had that New Harmony fire also threatening Canaryville. I guess they were called out at that time, too.
Absolutely.
So when they are calling, you go all the way from volunteer fire departments, from the county. How about costs? How are costs shared through this?
We like to send the bill to Tracy.
Yeah. And I like to send it back.
He sends it back and unpaid. But what we usually do is we have at the end of the year a time when we sit down with and put all the fires on the board, and then we figure out whose fair share is to be paid, and the Forest Service and BLM, state, all of us put those there. And it's quite a lengthy process, but you can imagine that a lot of times there's as many as 1,000 fires on that board.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've got to figure out really who pays every little bit. Yeah. The taxpayers of Utah, do they end up footing the bill for a lot of this?
They do. They pay their portion of it. We have a couple different ways of passing those costs on to the counties. There's a couple of different programs the counties can enter into cooperatively with the state. There's a number of requirements, but basically we set up an agreement with them. They have to meet certain requirements, and then once they exceed a certain level of expense, then the state comes in and provides assistance at that point.
And we've heard before that people perhaps responsible for starting fires can be held responsible for the cost. Has anybody actually paid up or been charged with the costs of any of these fires around Utah?
Oh, absolutely. Working with the U.S. Attorney's Office, in the past roughly, I'd say 15 years, we've collected over $16 million from various local people, corporations, Union Pacific. Some of those folks where trains have started fires. We do work very diligently to try to collect costs when there's a human-caused fire. And like this year so far, most of our fires have been human-caused. And so there is an investigation that goes forward, and they look at it, and then they charge the people with what they can pay. We're not going to put them in involuntary servitude for the rest of their life paying that, but it does. They work out a cost to it and bill them. And they pay for it.
Can be a pretty costly amount.
Oh, it's absolutely.
Very, very quickly.
Millions. Yeah.
And I believe just recently here restrictions were put on target shooting in several parts of the state. And you actually have a map now, a computerized map that shows where these restrictions are and where they're not?
We do. We've developed kind of an interactive GIS product. It's available online at utahfireinfo.gov. You can go there and see it. And it's not just target shooting. We're restricting other types of activities that tend to cause wildland fires as well.
Such as?
Campfires, fireworks, shooting of other types of ammunition, cutting, welding, grinding, that sort of thing.
Well, I know there's more than just those restrictions that can help prevent fires too. So when we come back in just a moment, we'll talk about what perhaps you can do as a citizen.
Unlimited opportunity for adventure? It's all about knowing where to look. Make plans now to be a part of the best small town fair in Utah, in Delta, Utah. August 2nd through the 4th, honoring our servicemen and women, Millard County's agricultural heritage is highlighted and its residents' accomplishments celebrated during the county fair.
So what brings you to St. George?
Business meeting.
Staying long?
Just here for the day, quick in and out. On second thought. Holy.
We'd like to invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy your 45-minute flight to Salt Lake.
I should have booked a weekend.
Ever wanted to go on a vacation to Mars? What about a visit to the Old West? Impossible, right? Well, forget what you think is real. In southern Utah's Kane County, other worlds are just an ATV ride away. The Old West lives on in every sunset. From the downtown streets of Little Hollywood to the vistas that have inspired the world. Never find yourself closer to home and yet farther than you've ever been. Southern Utah's Kane County, where anywhere is possible.